Hello, my name is Sharon Bell, and I am the mother of an adult son who is diagnosed severely mentally ill. A little bit of just information up front. Sometimes when I talk about this, I will find a tear rolling down my face. It's a sad story. It's full of grief and trauma and feelings of helplessness, and it's sad. I used to try to not cry when I would talk, but I stopped doing that a long time ago. So if you see it, it is what it is. A little bit of background about my son. He is smart and really funny. He gets that from me. And just a really sweet, good kid. And he has a severe mental illness. So around when he was little, big blue eyes and blonde hair. And he has a brother that's a year younger than him. So everybody used to call them the Towhead Twins. We were born and raised in Newport Beach, California. That's where my kids were born and raised and lived there my whole life. So, not a poor neighborhood, or did we suffer in any way. I was a single parent, like many people living in California, a single parent just trying to work and raise my kids. And my son graduated from high school and, you know, just a good kid. And after high school graduation, he was going to a community college and he was drinking. I knew that he was drinking on the weekends, and I knew that he was smoking weed. And I even got him a medical marijuana card because I thought, well, if he has a medical marijuana card, then if he gets pulled over, he won't go to jail. But very quickly, his drinking and smoking became more and more often, like every day. And that escalated. So there was a lot of chaos in the home. There was up all night days. There was, opening and closing doors and slamming doors. And I thought he was just a drug addict. And so I would kick him out, and then he would break back into the house, and the police were called, and it was a mess for a lot of years. Well, about a year and a half, it was a mess. And then I realized that there was something else going on, but I didn't really know what it was. I was just a regular mom. And he started saying things like, you poisoned the food. I'm not eating that food. And I would say, of course I didn't poison the food. Here, take my plate, eat my plate. And then he would say things like, um, well, people are talking to me through the TV. And so he would punch the TV and break the TV and then break all the TVs in the house. And then police were called again. And this was a lot of chaos and turmoil for a very long time. And eventually, someone in the police department handed me a crisis unit card. And then I was connected with crisis unit who came out to the house. And that began his inpatient hospitalizations. By this time, he was 18, so an adult. And it was very, very, very difficult for me to get him care or be part of his care because he was 18 by this time. And they would say, well, he's an adult, he can do what he wants. But he was really sick and he wasn't eating at all and he was losing a lot of weight. And so I knew there was something going on. But his inpatient stays would be 1 or 2 days, maybe one day. That got extended to 3 days, and eventually that got extended to a week. And sometimes his medication would work, and sometimes it wouldn't work. And sometimes he'd get stabilized and discharged, and a couple days later, be back in. Um, Took a solid year to get medication that actually worked for him. Everybody's different, and it doesn't always work the first time, as we know now. As he went in and out of hospitalizations, inpatient lockdown psychiatric facilities, and I would visit him, I would see people just like him. Didn't matter what their age was, or their race, or their socioeconomic background, or their cultural identity, just like him. I would bring him food, and a lot of times other people that were there would say, "Are you sure you didn't poison the food?" So for me, I really had a pretty good understanding that there were a lot of people really suffering and didn't have enough people to advocate him. So I went back to school and I got my associate's degree in behavioral science and then my undergrad in community advocacy and social policy. And then from there, my master's in social work. And along the way, there were social workers who were life saving and provided resources and told me how to make sure I get medication filled on time and just really were very, very helpful. And there were other social workers that said, your son is going to be in an inpatient lockdown psychiatric facility for the rest of his life, and there's nothing you can do. And my response was like, well, clearly you don't know me. And it turns out there is something you can do. And that's my story I'm sharing with you today. I really am reaching out to the social workers that are listening, or the clinicians, or the caretakers, not just to be an advocate for the person that's suffering, because mental illness affects the whole family. It doesn't just affect the person that's suffering. Oftentimes, they're sick and they don't understand what's going on. Most of the time, my son doesn't know what day it is. I can't expect him to get to an appointment 3 months down to get his medication if he doesn't know what today is. And so that's my message to you today. Please include family members or the caretakers that are actually living with people that suffer from a mental illness. Listen to what they say. When they're saying, well, he's showing signs of relapse, or, this particular time of month really gives him a lot of anxiety, maybe that's time medication needs to be adjusted, increased, or decreased. Um, we can teach our family members how to de-escalate situations. We can give them de-escalation tactics. I use them every day. We can teach people how to recognize relapse signs without having a degree. There are signs that many mental health patients show when they're having severe anxiety. So we can teach our caretakers how to manage those, and think how awesome that would be if we can teach our caretakers how to manage that, right? We keep our family units intact. We reduce mass incarceration of the mentally ill. We strengthen our communities because now we've empowered our family units. And so that's a message I have to you. Please keep in mind that mental illness isn't only for the client, it's the family members that suffer trauma as well. And so, my hope for us today is that we include those caretakers in treatment plans and give them the knowledge they need. Thank you so much for having me.